for the ultimate source of inspiration, knowledge, and entertainment? Look no further. Network Kingdom is a unique platform that brings together experts from various industries. Through networking and collaboration, we create inspiring conversations that educate, entertain, and motivate our listeners. Whether you're a business professional, an entrepreneur, or simply someone looking to grow their knowledge base.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited today because I have my friend, Dr. Dionne. Dr. Dionne, it's so nice to have you here this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Omio.
How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully well today. And I'm here from the beautiful, breathtaking island of Barbados. I just wanted to let everybody know that.
I know. Have I told you that I've visited Barbados before? Twice?
No.
So I also used to plan events, and I've actually planned a destination wedding in Barbados.
Wow. That's nice. Well, yes, it's time for you to come back and to bring some people with you too.
And I like the roti. There's roti.
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm sure my guests are wondering what we're talking about. So Dr. Dionne is my friend from another mother far away in Barbados. And I'm going to be visiting her very soon. She's going to introduce herself to us. Dr. Dionne, I'm sure they're eager to meet you. Tell us, who is Dr. Dionne?
So I am Dr. Dionne Greaves, the Mompreneur CEO. I'm a global empowerment speaker, business and elevation strategist, and entrepreneurship transition coach. So I help corporate professional women transition from the corporate space into full-time entrepreneurship with confidence and a game plan. I am also the vice president of Jesus Coffee and Prayer Christian Publishing House, LLC, and the Women Win Network, where we celebrate women who win 365 through our TV network and digital magazine platform. I am also the executive channel producer and owner of the Mompreneur CEO channel. I'm a 5-time international bestselling author. I'm the mom of 1 son and wife to 1 husband. And I'm also a co-pastor in my husband's ministry. So I wear many, many, many hats, but all in all, I am here to empower, to enrich, and to encourage each and every one of you who are tuning in here wherever you're at, because life was not always like this. I do have a story.
I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start. So, I mean, you working with people who are transitioning and from paid employment or from, like their day jobs. I find that lately that has become the norm, and even if, in fact, transitioning, I'm happy that people in the past, I believe that in the past people just left their jobs, I'm retired or I don't like the job anymore and I leave. Now I see that people are very intentional about the process, and they try very hard to, transition and, put some structures in place and all that. What do you think?
Well, let me tell you the honest truth. That was not my story. I would have been in corporate for 7.5 years on my most recent career path as an executive assistant. And that I built my business during the pandemic. So I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that from the age of 12, that this is something that I wanted to do, even though growing up in my environment, there were no reference points for that. But in 2020, when the pandemic hit and everybody was home, I actually had been working from home for about 2 years before that actually happened, immediately after the birth of my son. And so I decided in that moment, why not tap into what I was already good at, and get started. And so I would have launched my business. Things did not go with a bountiful source of income at that particular point, but I did the work, started to increase my visibility, and a lot of opportunities came my way. So when it came for me to transition last year, I literally took a big leap, right? Which is when my program is called The Big Leap. I took a big leap from full-time employment into full-time entrepreneurship, right? So I did not have a ton of money saved up anywhere. I didn't have a huge plan as to what I was going to do outside of what I knew I could do. But at the end of the day, I knew that it was time for me to go. And a lot of people tend to think that with transitioning, you have to have all of your ducks in a row. That is not necessarily the case, right? So for me, I made that transition. I would have monetized even more of my gifts, knowledge, and expertise. So where I have my clients now, if they're looking to make that transition, the first thing we do is to look at what gifts, knowledge, skills, and expertise that they have. Because most of the time, most of them are in a space already operating in their area of genius, working for somebody else and being paid. And some people also have things that they're passionate about that they would have shelved for one reason or another. So it's a matter of rekindling their interest, rekindling their fire based on the vision that God has given them for their lives. And so we tap into that. I show them how they can monetize every area of knowledge, skills, and expertise that they have. And that is how we are charting the path. So these clients that I have right now, they're set to graduate in November, and they have been monetizing more of their knowledge, skills, and expertise. So my first thing is it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank account. You could have your desired amount of money there, but trust me, $100,000, $200,000, $1 million is no money when you make that transition, because money goes along quickly. Right? So a lot of people like to think they have a safety net and they stay in jobs longer than they should. But that's not the case. Sometimes you have to make the big leap, and it pushes you to really tap into who you are to get the results that you need in terms of becoming a sustainable business. So for me, I have a plan A, and that's it. I don't have a plan B. This business has to work because this is what God has placed on my heart, to serve moms in this capacity.
Wow, the big leap, the big leap. So when you speak of graduating, is it like, do they go through this program for months and then graduate or something like that?
Yes. So these clients have been in this program since November last year.
Wow.
Yes. So it's not just in 3 months or 4 months. No, we don't do that with the Big Leap Academy, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. You have to transition your thinking from an employee mindset into an entrepreneur mindset, right? Because at the end of the day, what I tell my clients is, as an entrepreneur, if you don't work, you don't eat. As an employee, there's somebody who's going to put money in your bank account every month, whether you work 10 days or 2 days or the entire month, you will be paid. But when you are an entrepreneur, you are responsible. There's no safety net. There's no crutch. You have to make sure that you are putting in the work so you can actually eat. It's as simple as that.
Wow, that's true.
So we got to do a lot of work with that mindset to transition from thinking of, being paid to understanding every day I need to generate some type of income in my business, even if it is $5, even if it is $10. Some months are going to be better than some, but on a consistent basis, you need to be generating some type of income in your business on a monthly basis that says, because the reality is, once you know how to do it, it's something that you can wash, rinse, and repeat each and every single time. The modality may change, but the method is pretty much the same. You repeat the same thing to get bigger and better results.
Yeah. And the mindset is really, really important. And we often overlook that. And we're looking at things like you said, we're looking at things like the money, maybe the building, the structures, and we just forget the mindset. And so you have all that physical things, and your mindset is that's very, very true. That's very true.
If
So
your
what?
mindset is not right, you will
Right.
fail, right?
No way.
I can believe in you. I can tell you you can do this, but you yourself have to see that
Believe
happening for you, right? So mindset is everything. It's a huge part of what I do for the first 3 to 6 months, depending on where the client is when they come in with me. That's the first part of what we cover. So of course, there are people who are just looking for visibility opportunities and those things, which I can provide. But the reality is we work with this first. If you don't get your mindset correct, it does not make sense, because then you cannot leverage the opportunities that are afforded you. So we do a lot of
Absolutely.
that up front. Yeah.
I was going to say that because sometimes you get the visibility,
Mhm.
and when the opportunities come, because you're not prepared and your mindset is not right, you miss those opportunities.
You're afraid sometimes, so when we do that mindset work, it helps to build self-awareness. It helps to deal with self-esteem issues. It also helps to build confidence, because if you're confident, then you know you can do something. A lot of people tend to think, okay, I'm new to this. No, you're not new. You've been doing this. It's just that you're making it official, because your day 30 might be somebody's day 1, right? So you are in a position to teach somebody else something based on your knowledge, skills, and expertise, because you're not saying, well, I'm teaching this particular method based on somebody else's thing. This is what you have done to get the particular result that you have. That's all people want to know. People want to know, how did you do it? And that's one of the questions that would have triggered my structure for my business in the way that it is, because when I was working in corporate, people said to me, I just don't know how you do it. How are you doing being a mom with such a young child? You're working such a demanding job, because I was working with C-suite executives and such. They're never off the clock. So I was pretty much on the clock, building a ministry with my husband, building a business. So I had a lot of new things. I had a new baby, new ministry, new business. And so people kept saying to me, I don't know how you do it. How do you do it? So then I started to look at the how. How was I getting it done? How was I getting it done? And that is what I began to teach people. So a lot of my clients were able to get results, even better results than me, is basically I showing them what I did. Because I can't teach you what somebody else did. I can tell you what I did to get the results that I have. So that's what I've been doing in the online space.
Wow. I actually feel like my own mindset is changing as well. So let's talk about the TV network.
So the TV network is called Women Win Network. It is owned and operated by Jesus Coffee and Prayer Christian Publishing House, LLC, for which I initially started out as the chief executive assistant there last year in April. And then I was quickly promoted to vice president in October last year. And so one of the things that I do, we have several channels on the network, and it is strictly female-oriented content. So my channel specifically, I started with my show initially on the network in January last year. And now this year, as a matter of fact, about 2 months ago, I officially launched my channel where I would be producing mom-specific content for my audience. So basically, if you are a mom, if you need encouragement, if you need self-care, if you need whatever you need as a mom, you can find it on the Mompreneur CEO channel. The channel is powered again by the Women Win Network, which is aired to a global audience of over 100 million homes across the globe. And so we do have lots of visibility opportunities there. There are TV show host opportunities. There are guest opportunities to be featured on several posts. We are also the home of podcasts as well. So if there are persons who have podcasts and are looking for a bigger audience or home for their podcast, the network is able to facilitate that. And we have a full production team who does all of the back end work. So if you're coming on, you don't necessarily have to know everything to do. As a matter of fact, with my channel in specific, one of the things that I offer my TV show hosts is production, but also coaching. So if they want to have a successful TV show, I show them exactly how they can come up with the idea for their TV show, how they can have the pitch different episodes that they want to do, and also be able to monetize it. A lot of people take monetization of visibility very slight, and it's nothing to overlooked. If you have a show, if you have a podcast, whatever platform you have, it can be monetized because you are providing an outlet that people want, which is the visibility, which helps to increase their credibility and their authority.
So, I always teach people about something called the VCP process, visibility, credibility, and then profitability. And
Yes.
I strongly believe that I've used it and it's worked for me. So I always pass that on to my clients. So now I want to ask you,
Sure.
Did you just wake up and decide to work with moms? And yes, I know that, like you said, you had your kid, your baby, the ministry and work at the same time, first, and that came with its challenges. But before then, I mean, what tilted you towards that direction? And in answering that as well, I've listened to you and I'm almost intimidated because you're this bag of confidence and more. And I'm wondering how I am already asking myself, how does she do it? So did you just wake up confident and, have everything in place?
No, it took some work to get to this point. So people see the finished product, but this was a journey, I'm going to tell you. So I'll answer the first part of your question. How did I decide that I would work with moms? So in 2017, I would have received a prophecy from a friend in Nigeria who said to me that I was pregnant. And I remember saying to him that I was not pregnant because the doctors had told me the day before that I was unable to have children naturally. And so he said to me, I don't care what the doctors say to you, you are pregnant. And this would have been in July 2017. And every week after that, we would have conversations and he would say to me, so by now you should feel the baby moving and all of these things. And initially I thought he was crazy. I was like, I don't understand what this man is talking about. This is not making any sense. And I said to God, this man keeps telling me that I'm pregnant. I'm not seeing any visible signs of pregnancy. I don't understand this thing. And I remember one week in talking to the same friend, he said to me, ask God for a name for this baby. And I said, God, if there is a baby coming to me, if there's a baby in my womb, if there's any sign of a baby happening, I need you to give me a name for this baby. And the Lord said, call the baby Jonathan. I said, okay, Jonathan. So you have to give me another name. He needs a second name. He said, Amari. I said, so why not Amari Jonathan? He said, no, Jonathan Amari. Jonathan means unexpected blessing and Amari means strength. And so I went all the way down to December 2017 on my anniversary on December 29th. And I sat down at work and I wrote in a book. I still have this book till today. And in that book, I wrote, by August 2018, there will be children in my house. January 8th or 6th, 2018, I received a call in the middle of the night about a situation with a young lady who was pregnant. She was 8.5 months pregnant, and she was looking for a home for this baby. She did not want the baby to go through the foster care system or any type of thing because she herself had been through that and she didn't want that. She was looking for a family for this baby because of unfortunate circumstances, how she got pregnant. And the person said to me, it's a boy. And there was a leap in my spirit, just like how when Mary went to visit Elizabeth, there was a leap. I had that leap in my spirit because I knew this was the child that was being prophesied to me all these months. And literally the child was due to be born in February. So I had 4 weeks. My husband and I had 4 weeks to prepare for parenthood. And so we took the big leap. We accepted this child as our own. We brought him home from the hospital. And in that transition is where I had one of my biggest battles with my job, because they said to me, I could not have maternity leave because I did not birth this child naturally. And in that moment, I made the decision that whether or not they're going to let me keep this job, I will take the time home with my son, because there's no way that he's coming home from the hospital and I'm putting him in the care of anybody else. I'm his mother. I will be caring for him. And so I made that decision, and they eventually came back and said they will give me the time off with pay. So I was given 6 weeks home with him. And in that 6 weeks, I said, you know what? I need to have more options. As a mom, I should not have to choose between my son or my child, my family, and this job. And in that moment, there was a trigger that went off for me. So I went on this mission to empower moms, starting with myself, in the corporate space, so that we can ask for the things that we want. We don't have to beg. We don't have to plead, because it is rightfully ours. And so it started with me getting bolder and asking to be paid the salary that was due to me, because although I was working with executive C-suite VPs and all those kind of things, they were not paying me the salary that was due to me. They were paying me as an entry-level professional, right? And I was in this role for 5 years before transitioning out. And so I had the courage to stand up and ask to be paid what I deserve to be paid. I started to sit a little more on my faith as it related to when I had to have appointments with my son, which would be during work hours sometimes and such. I started to put on my foot in a bigger way. And so that's how I started to build the level of confidence that you see today. But it pushed me into this place of wanting moms to understand we have power. It doesn't mean that having children is a disability, because in the corporate space, they tend to prioritize people who don't have children and males. As soon as you have a child and you're a mom, they put you in a different bracket. And I did not like that narrative. So I decided to change that. It created several problems for me in the corporate space, because I was too vocal. I was too bold in what I was asking for. But I did it anyway, because I understood my assignment. Nobody expected that I would leave, because with a young son, who would leave a job, right? Nobody does that. So they thought I was crazy. But as it relates to the piece about confidence, I was not always this person. I went through rape. I went through abuse. I went through so many different things that would have shaped my journey, where I had actually lost my identity. And I went through a period of self-discovery in 2019, where I decided, you know what? This narrative has to change, because the reality is what happens from the point of birth and say 20 years old is pretty much the life of what people would have done to me. But when I hit 20 years old, I came to that realization that if I wanted to change this story, it was entirely up to me. And so since then, I've been on a mission to change the narrative of my life, not allowing my past to define me in a negative way, not using it as a reference point for pain, but using it as a reference point towards my purpose and towards the God-given desires that He has placed within me. And so this is how you see me showing up as the confident powerhouse you see today, because I'm unstoppable and nobody has the power to change that, because what the Lord said to me meant more than anything that any man has said to me. And He said, you did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you that you should go forth and bear good fruit. So I'm in my good fruit season, where I am producing and bearing good fruit.
Wow, you are unstoppable.
That's right. I am Saint Me, so I didn't say myself. I am Saint Me.
So, you mentioned rape and abuse, and I don't want to go get into that if you're uncomfortable about it. But much as I'm not going to ask you the details, I just wanted to point out, for every time I imagine, up until I started this journey.
I have to pause for one moment, if you don't mind. I need to just fix my nose real quickly.
So, as much as I don't want us to, take you back to what has happened in the past and all that, but I like the fact that you said that with what you've been through, you don't use it as a reference point for pain. And that's very profound, because a lot of us, latch onto these things and we keep referring to it, causing us more pain, feeling sorry for ourselves and all that. Whereas you can use it as a reference point for growth. And so I was saying that when I think of rape, I'm trying to put it, before I started this journey, when I think of rape and abuse, I immediately see the woman who is beaten down, lack of confidence, sad. That's just the face I see. And saying this now, a lot of things, I'm imagining a lot of things. And we see those posters of rape and abuse, and you see a woman with tears, sometimes it's like tears of blood. I wish we could actually change those pictures to a powerful woman, a strong, powerful woman, because I'm thinking now that that's where I drew that conclusion that when I see a victim, that's the look. And what we're saying to rape victims is that this is how you would look. This is how you should look. And for some people, those pictures are the reference points that they have. So when they go through rape, in their head, they immediately imagine, this is my life, this is how I'm going to be. How about we change the narrative? Because there's no way I would have guessed that you have been through anything like that.
Yeah, suicidal thoughts, a lot of things. And the reality is that is the picture that has been painted for us by mainstream media and all of the powers that be. Is similar to when people think of Africa, and this is no disregard to anybody. They have this mindset, everybody in Africa is poor, but the people of Africa are very rich, right? And I keep hearing people who go there say that, and I've experienced it because I do know people. I have relatives who live in Africa and they're not suffering by any means, right? Every country has poor people. It does not mean that this is the face of the country. Africa is very wealthy. And so it's like the same thing with rape. Every woman who has been raped does not look like that. She's not broken. She may have gone through that, but she's overcome it, right? But we've painted persons who've gone through sexual trauma or domestic violence as these broken, damaged goods. And that is not the face of it. I've been beaten within an inch of my life. I had a man running through the country threatening to kill me, right? People were trying to get me out the country to save my life. I've been raped 4 times. I've had a gun put to my head. I've been through a lot of things. So that is not the face of it. There are a lot of women who look like me who have gone through sexual trauma. They've been abused, but they got up from that position. And I've always been determined that I will never be a victim of circumstance. It comes with taking personal responsibility for who you want to become, right? It does not diminish the fact that something bad would have happened to you, but something bad does not have to become you, right? It has happened to you, but it does not have to define who you are. You have to redefine that. You have to change the narrative. You also have to deal with that trauma. So I would have dealt with my issue to the point where I can see that person, pardon me, I can see that person and not be intimidated by them. I can write their name, I can call their name and not be intimidated by them. It took some growth, but it didn't take forever. You have to make a decision that you're not going to stay in that place. It is like any other trauma, It is like you would have gotten a broken leg and you were decommissioned for a few weeks. Are you going to keep walking around with a limp because you would have had a broken leg? At some point, you have to take responsibility for your healing, right? You're not responsible for what has happened to you, but you're responsible for your healing. So it doesn't have to take forever. You have to get comfortable with that story. So I am confident in speaking about those things. It doesn't make me feel sad. It doesn't take me back. It doesn't trigger me, anything like that, because I've dealt with it. And I know somebody might be wondering, yeah, you dealt with it, and so it's easy for you. No, I actually went to therapy and I could not even talk to the therapist about it. It was too much. And she said to me, I don't know how to help you. She said, the only other thing I can recommend to you is hypnotherapy. And I said to her, nobody is hypnotizing me. She said, well, all I could tell you is go to God. And that's what I did. I went to God and I said to God, this is too much. I don't want to live my life like this. And God and we did that work. We did that work and I got my deliverance from it. So I can share my story. I've done it on several platforms before. When I say that, I always get the response and people say, you don't even look like somebody. And I'm like, so how are you supposed to look? But here when you explain and share what you shared, I understand.
Do you notice how quiet I am and I'm staring? I'm actually, I'm in shock. And you said what I wish I was writing. You said something about pain and not letting the pain become you. There was a way that you put it.
It has happened to you, but it does not have to become you. Right? It doesn't have to become you, right? You are not a vessel for pain. You are a vessel for purpose. And when we start to understand that, is going to change our narrative. Let me tell y'all, right? I've been through some things. I've been misdiagnosed with cancer. I've been through so many things in my life. And trust me, I'm not 40 yet. But I've been through so many things in my life already. But because I understand who God is, it allows me to reshape that narrative, right? I do not allow negative circumstances to beat me down. I might hurt sometimes, of course, but I always get back up, right? I always get back up with the vision at the forefront of my mind. If I stay broken and hurt, I cannot help the people that God has called me to serve, right? It is not about me. I'm the vessel. It is not about me. It is for the people that God has sent. It is for the people that God has assigned to me. And if each of us understand, your mission may look different. So you may not have the largest platform, but wherever God has called you to serve, understand your assignment. Understand that there are people assigned to you. And the longer that you relish in brokenness, pain, and despair, the longer it takes for those people that you've been called to serve to be set free. And when we think about creating an impact, it doesn't mean that you have to travel the entire world to do that. Maybe there's a village, maybe there's a community of people that God has called you to impact in the space that you're in. But you have to understand your assignment. Your life is not about you. I'm so sorry to have to tell you that. But it's the truth. It is not about you. It's about the assignment that God has given to you. Some of us don't understand the assignment because we don't take time to know what it is. But when you catch wind of what God has in store for you and the blessings and the prosperity that comes with that, you're going to passionately pursue that thing that sets your soul on fire. The Bible talks about God granting the desires of our heart. God gives us those desires so that he can fulfill them. Before my name ever hit a magazine cover, before I ever went on a billboard, before I ever stepped on an international stage, the Lord showed me an inner vision. And a lot of people, I don't care what your belief system is. This is my belief system. Because I have that relationship with him, he speaks and I always listen. It's not that we don't hear God. We're not listening. We're not paying attention to what he's saying, but he always speaks. He's not silent. If you ask, the Bible says, if you ask for wisdom, it will be given to you in abundance. But wisdom also requires the ability to listen and to take instruction. There are many of us that God has given us instructions and we are stuck because we have not yet executed what he has told us to do. Because we're caught up in our feelings. So when we're caught up in feelings of brokenness, despair, hopelessness, when we're caught up in feelings of offense, for those of us who get easily offended, you can't stay on your assignment. You can't stay on your assignment because all of these same things are sent to be distractions because the enemy came so that he could steal, kill, and to destroy. So he's going to steal your joy. He's going to steal your hope. He's going to try to kill you physically. And if he can't do that, he's going to destroy your dreams. He's going to destroy your vision. He's going to destroy everything that God says. He's going to try to do that. He does not have the power to do it. But when you step back and you take a back seat on your life, that's exactly what he does. You give him that power. You empower him to wreak havoc on your life. But when you take charge, when you are in the driver's seat of your life, when you take personal responsibility for your actions, when you take personal responsibility for your future, when you take personal responsibility for the vision and the assignment that God has given you, you become unstoppable, right? You become unstoppable. So I just want to drop that there for somebody today.
No, not for somebody. You already dropped it for me. Oh my goodness. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. So now, seriously, right? I'm sure that a lot of people listening, and even I am wondering that. So some people are at different levels in their spiritual journey. I'm a Christian as well. But if you're not a Christian, whatever spirituality, excuse me, people at different stages, they might not have gotten to the point or where you are, where they hear from God, or where they might still be starting. So my question is really, have you took that decision to have a conversation with God? Some other person might decide to go the therapy route, which is okay. I'm sure.
Of course.
That's as well. Now, I also know that people go through this therapy, and obviously for some people it's 6 months, for some people it's 1 year, for some people it's even longer. And like you said, a lot of work depends on you. So the therapist can only guide and talk based on what you've told the therapist. God would give you instructions, it's left for you to obey. So whichever way, it's still about you. And this is where mindset comes in. And those voices. So I, for one, know that you go through those therapies and God will say things to you, and you still wake up one day and you hear things like you're not good enough, or you hear things like who is going to listen to you, or you bump into the person who has assaulted you at some point, or you need something and the person who has assaulted you is probably the boss in that office, and or someone knows, or that's actually one of the greatest that people deal with. Oh, everyone knows my story. So you think you're walking into a place where everyone knows your story, and they look at you in a certain way, and you think, oh, they're looking at me because they know and this happened. How does one deal with it? How would you advise? Now, this is not about going to therapy. This is not about talking to God. This is about practical tips that one can immediately put in place. So I'm sure even while you were having that conversation, or that whole period you were going through it with God, there's some days that you bump into someone and some thought comes into your mind, and you're able to deal with that situation. What would you advise?
So for me, I would say this, and this is probably the anomaly in this situation, because by nature, I am a driver. So I like to be in charge. I like to be in control. And so I took, as again, I said, personal responsibility for my life, right? I made a decision that it doesn't matter how it feels. I have to be in control of this situation. This situation cannot define me. So I did bump into that person who would have done that thing to me. I did bump into him on several occasions. Something is on my face. 1 second. I'm
I
so
don't
sorry.
see it.
Something is blowing on my face. 1 minute. Let me get my life right. So I would have bumped into him on several occasions, right? Initially, when it started, I remember the first time I bumped into him, I was very intimidated by him. And then I decided, you know what? This cannot be the narrative. Every time I see this man, it can't be that I am shivering and I'm scared. Because let me tell you something, right? This is how these perpetrators thrive. They thrive on fear. And so I made a decision. The next time I encountered him, he actually touched me. And I knew he touched me before I saw him. Yes, I knew he touched me before I saw him. And I turned around and I said to him, let me tell you something. Don't you ever put your hands on me again. You do not have the power or the authority to touch me. The next time you lay hands on me, I'm going to call the police for you to pick you up in a body bag. I told him that. Because mind you, this is a man that attempted to kill me. And he also raped me. And this is what he felt he should be able to do, to touch me. So what is the answer to this question? You have to reclaim your power. There are days that I get up and I do get thoughts that I'm not good enough. There are days that it does happen, but I do not let it overpower me. I took responsibility to become self-empowered. So it doesn't matter what people say. If people clap for me, I clap with them. If they curse me, I still clap with them. Guess what? You have to take power back. You have to take control. It is your life. And once you put yourself in the driver's seat, you will have that power. It's going to feel a little awkward at first. It's going to feel a little strange. For those of you who are on the quieter side of personality, it's going to feel very outside of the box for you to do that. But it is necessary. You have to take control of that narrative. If you keep giving your power away, if you are keep waiting on that external validation, you're going to live life broken. So you have to get up and tell yourself, and this is what I started doing a couple of years back. I said, you know, I had issues with how I looked physically and all of these different things. And I got up and I started to tell myself, I love you. I looked at myself in the mirror and I had a real conversation with the girl in that mirror. And I said, listen, I love you. You're beautiful. I love your hair. I love your eyes. I love your ears. I love your lips. I love your body. I started to love on myself because people who did not understand the trauma I went through, they were being harsh on me about my body weight. They were harsh on my eyes. My eyes are too small. My ears are too small. My lips are too big. People started to pick at things. And because I was childless at that point, oh, you need to give your husband children. And they didn't understand that I was feeling like I wasn't even a woman because I couldn't give him children naturally, right? And so they didn't understand the impact of what was happening, because sometimes when you are strong and confident, people think that you don't have any issues. Yes. People think that you have it all together. The reality is I don't always have it together. As a matter of fact, last week, I didn't have it together because at the end of April, my godson's father died, right? And he's 15. My godson, I would have raised him from 6 weeks old until he was 7. And his father, who was his sole parent in Barbados, died at the end of April. And so his mom does not live here. And so there was about to make another transition, having to become his parent. And I've never parented a 15-year-old. So I felt scared. I felt overwhelmed. No, he's not a rowdy child or anything, but still it's a huge responsibility. And people said to me, you got this, because they know me to be so strong. But in that moment, I was scared and I had to be vulnerable. I expressed that because it was a moment of reality for my clients. It was a moment of reality for my followers and stuff. I had to let them know this is how I was feeling in this situation. It didn't mean that I didn't trust God or anything like that. But I had to be vulnerable in that moment to let people know, hey, yes, I'm strong. Yes, I'm bold. Yes, I'm confident. Sometimes not always by choice, but by situation, I'm forced to be that, right? Because people look up to me for so many things. But at the end of the day, I took charge of that narrative and decided, all right, girl, you cried for 2 days, you need to get up and get moving now. And that's what I did. So I got it out of my system. I dealt with it. So I'm saying to you, do the work. Do the work to heal, reclaim your power, and live life empowered. Do not wait for people to cheer you on or to validate you. You have to do that for yourself first.
No.
Sometimes you got to start clapping before people start clapping.
Yeah.
Clap for yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back. There are things that you are doing that are of great value. You are still having an impact in your circles, in your spaces. You are still making a difference in somebody else's life, and you got to start celebrating you. So if you are somebody who has been through trauma and you're finding it difficult to get up from that place, you owe it to yourself. The longer you stay in that VP state, the longer you stay in that hopeless state, you are giving that attacker power over you.
Yep. Yeah.
You're giving power. Right now, the person who raped me and beat me, he was following me on social media. And I'm sure he never expected my life would have turned out to be like this. He started stalking me on social media. A few weeks ago, I was in our capital city with my son. And he attempted to walk up to me and call me by name. And I walked straight past him. As if he does not exist, because he does not exist. So I don't give him power. You don't have to be scared, but you have to take back your power. The longer you stay down, they're empowered. The longer you keep your story hidden, you're protecting what they're doing. You got to tell your story. There's power in that. There's value in that. You're decommissioning him every time. And you're a constant reminder for what he failed on his assignment. Yeah.
Wow. That is powerful. You know, I am so encouraged, and I wish everyone who has passed through some sort of trauma, and it doesn't have to be rape or physical abuse. There's emotional abuse. There's different things.
Of course.
And, you know, I was saying to one of my guests the other day, I said, before a lot of my mindset and a lot of things that I thought I knew before the lockdown has actually changed. And being that I thought that, oh, I'm a Nigerian woman. Nigerian women have certain challenges. African women have challenges. European women have certain challenges. Post-lockdown, having met several women in different parts of the world, I have found out that women all over the world have common challenges, and it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, yellow, or green. Because I've spoken to countless, you know, and I've listened to them, and you know, I have noticed that there's just a certain pattern, and it's not about your color, it's not about your race, it's not about your tribe, it's not about your age.
Nope.
You know, and that has also encouraged me to work with more women. You know.
It comes with the territory of being a woman, you know, and that's why I said to persons who would have asked me the similar question you asked earlier as to why I chose moms. In corporate spaces, women have it hard, right? We have it hard. But when you become a mom, it's even harder, right? 10 times harder. So women, according to, and there's so many things that bring us together as women, because some of my clients are in their late 50s and stuff, but they relate to me and I'm able to help them through their situations because, again, there's no barrier when it comes to age. There's no barrier when it comes to color of your skin, because at the end of the day, we have one common thread, and it's our femininity. We're all women. And each of us have gone through some type of challenge. Like you said, everybody may not have been through sexual trauma or domestic violence, but somebody else may have gone through a different type of trauma. You see, the modality changes, but the issue remains the same. Trauma is trauma. Trauma is
Yeah.
trauma. And yours,
Yeah.
you'll be so surprised as you have conversations more and more, the number of women who have gone through. Honestly, I don't think I've ever met a woman who's never been through any type of trauma.
No, I haven't. I haven't. And
A woman has had some story about something that has happened.
by virtue of my work, I deal with people that have gone through trauma and have those. So I see it constantly.
Yeah. So there's power in being a woman. And so for those of you out there who are listening, I want you to tap into your superpower. You are that. Tap into your superpower. I'm not asking you to show up as anybody else. I'm not asking you to fake it until you make it. I'm asking you to tap into your faith account.
Yeah.
And live your best life. Let me tell you, as you step out in faith, it's going to be scary. And as I just told y'all a few minutes ago, I do get moments of fear, but it does not define me, right? I've redefined fear, right? So fear for me is not false evidence appearing real. It is fierceness evoking authentic revolution. That's what it represents for me. Fierceness evoking authentic revolution in my life. And that's what I've been doing these past few years.
Wow. Dr. Dionne, you're indeed a powerhouse. I'm sure that coming back here, just get ready. You're coming back here.
Thank you.
So if anyone wanted to watch your TV shows, how do they get a hold of it?
Okay, so if you have a Roku or Amazon Fire Stick, you just go to that platform and you download the Women Win Network app. It's an app. And once you download the app, you log on to the channel, the network, and it pulls up all of the channels. You scroll, you will see the Mompreneur CEO channel, and there you can watch 3 seasons of the Mompreneur CEO show. It's as easy as that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I've had fun, and I need to go back and digest this conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. It has been a pleasure and a great, powerful start to my day.
I know. Thank you. Hey, guys, if you're anything like me, I'm speechless. So I'm not going through any speech. We just need to thank Dr. Dionne and go and watch those episodes. I can't even wait to watch them myself. And I'm out.
You've been listening to Network Kingdom with Omo Obulor. Remember, if you cannot see where you're going, ask someone who has been there before.